So I went to see Disclosure Day yesterday, and you'll have to excuse my voice. I'm a bit under the weather, and well, I do have some thoughts, but I don't want to include any spoilers, so that's going to inhibit some things that I want to say. And so I'm going to be purposefully vague on some issues or some details. So, as a movie, Disclosure Day is exactly what I expected it to be. It's a Steven Spielberg movie, and it's a great ride. I recommend it. As entertainment, it's targeted towards, frankly, people who aren't particularly invested in the UFO subject. Just they regard it as entertainment for them. And people who have anything to say on the matter in any kind of concrete or knowing fashion are just kind of kooks to these people. And that's fair enough. That's absolutely fair enough. So as a movie, it ticks every box. Does the movie help disclosure at all? Specifically, this current push for disclosure that we currently find ourselves in. And I have to say no. But there's a caveat, and that is not yet. I think further down the road, people who are not interested in ufology, who become interested in ufology, will find their way back to this movie in order to give them some grounding, a primer. That would be a better way of putting it. A primer to UFOs and ufology and the rather extraordinary experiences some people find themselves going through. In a previous Ectohead video, I stated that the movie wouldn't only be a what if, as in what if disclosure happens, but for some people it would be a how to. It would give them some instruction in the phenomena. And I think now, after having seen the movie, that that's actually a thing. Yeah. And I say that because as I watched this film, there were moments that became very relevant to me. Not that I've shared, anything in this movie. There are some very small points, data points in this movie that I think to some people, rather like myself, ring a bell. They're somehow familiar. It's very difficult to explain. But there were parts of the movie where I became quite emotional. It was very, very unexpected. But it had a really deep emotional, and there was something very visceral about it. And I reacted emotionally to it in the movies, and I can't quite believe I did that. I'm a very reserved individual. I do like having a laugh, and I can be quite sort of loud at times. But when it comes to my personal feelings, I'm really quite a private person. There was one particular point where one of the protagonists mentions friendly, scary animals. And it just came out of the blue. Of course, I hadn't seen the movie previously. And I had a very emotional reaction to that. Yeah. But I have to go back and reiterate that I still don't think this movie is for people who are involved with the subject, who are experiencing the phenomena. They already know everything that this movie effectively has to offer. This isn't for them. This isn't for us, I suppose. However, while watching the movie, I was, as a moviegoer now, consistently reminded throughout of Spielberg's obligation to the movie and his movie-going audience, and to the studio that funded this particular film. As I said when I opened the video, it's a great piece of entertainment. And so Spielberg has had to walk this line of providing the movie-going public at large with a great Steven Spielberg movie, which he's done, I think, and also tip the wink to people who are involved in the subject. And he does that too. And I'm not going to say how, obviously, because I'm trying to remain spoiler-free. It would be unfair of me to say anything. If you have experienced anything or witnessed anything, I would respectfully suggest you go and see the movie. It might help you in ways that you might not currently be aware of. And, at worst, you'll watch a cracking movie. I had a bit of a sleepless night last night, unsurprisingly. I'm no nightmares as such, nothing like that. Just, I think the movie left something of itself in here. Oh, there we go. Somebody's remembered I'm alive. That's really all I've got for today. Oh, and before I forget, the movie ends rather clumsily for me. It didn't flow. It was all. The ending seemed a bit shoehorned in, but to serve a purpose, if I can put it that way. And I don't know how long the development of this film was up until the end of shooting, but I get the impression it was done quite quickly and done to complement this current disclosure push. And within that statement that I've just made, we can go back to Close Encounters of the Third Kind and all the rumours that Steven Spielberg was in actual fact read in to this classified subject in order to produce the movie that he produced as a historical document as much as a great movie. And I don't think this second offering is of the same caliber because it's a second time round. It's a revisiting and will never have the same impact as the first one. But there are lots of little details here which, for those of you who are involved, might be of use. As I said, they may help you in ways that you might not expect. Yeah, so that's all I've got for you for today. Do like, subscribe, and share. It really would help the channel. And until next time, bye-bye.